So our next step in this cabinet build project is I'm going to make the drawer boxes. Drawer boxes I'm going to make out of 1/2-inch maple. It's not going to be Baltic birch or anything like that. Here's a piece of the maple. It's surface 3 sides. I'll need to rip it down to the proper dimensions to make the drawer boxes, and then I'm going to use a drawer lock bit for my router to route the fronts and backs and the sides so they all lock together, and then I'll dado the bottom edge on everything 1/2 inch up so that my drawer bottom will slide in. I'm going to use BLUM Tandem Plus slides. They're concealed slides that are underneath the drawer, so they're really smooth, they're really nice, and they're soft close. So the first thing I'm going to do is rip it down so it's 3.5 inches wide. My holes for my drawers are 4 5/8, and BLUM's, their tandem slides want about 1 inch clearance. So 3 5/8 would be more cumbersome to work with, so I'm just going to go with 3.5. Pretty good round number, so I'm going to rip these down to 3.5 inches. That's what I'm going to start working on now.
Two hours later.
So here's my stock. It's 15 1/16 or 380 millimeters. BLUM does all their measurements in millimeters, but they do offer conversion charts in their instructions for use in the standard world. Here are my drawer sides. Right now they're rough cut to 21 inches. What I'm going to do is I have a drawer lock bit that will actually, since this is a 1/2 inch, it will cut in 3/8 of an inch and leave an 1/8 of an inch overhang. So when you put these together, it will actually only be 1/8 inch covering up this front. Even though these are 21 right now, because that's the slides I'm using, is 21 inches, I will need to reduce those by 1/8 for the front and 1/8 for the back. So by 1/4 of an inch, I'll need to pull these down to 20 3/4 inches. That's how I would measure the front of all my drawers. It's basically the width in millimeters minus 42, or according to the conversion chart, it's basically the opening width minus 5/8 of an inch for 1/2 inch material. Now what I like to do is I like to look at the boards to see how well they're going to line up. So like this has some little bit of grain breakage back here when it was planed and stuff from the mill. So what I'll do is I will put that either in the back of the cabinet or in the front, because the drawer front will cover that up so that the inside looks nice. But I like to label all my drawers so that inside the drawer number and which one it's going to be. My drawer fronts, backs, and sides, they're all cut to length, with the exception of the sides. They're about 1/4 inch over at the moment, but that's so that I get them right down to 21 inches as for the drawer slides. So now I'm going to work on routing the fronts of these and the backs, because those are how I have my router set up at the moment. So it'll be face down. The router bit will be 3/8 of an inch up and 3/8 of an inch out from the fence. And that will create the drawer lock profile for the fronts and the backs. I've taped multiple sides of my drawers together, so when I route them, it'll create a nice smooth drawer lock. What I've done is I've already taken 2 passes with my drawer lock bit right here. So the first pass just made this little groove, a slight little groove. The second pass made the groove deeper, and then it also took and cut this down a little bit. This is the third pass right here, and you can actually see that the groove is even deeper and this little lip here is even more. This all fits in with the drawer fronts, which are already cut. So over here at my router extension on my table, I've got a feather board and a really tall vertical fence clamped on. Way down in there is my drawer lock bit, and basically each time I ran my side panels through vertically, all I did was I slowly moved this back just a little bit more, exposing a little more of the bit that's buried in the fence, until I basically snuck up to the edge of what would be where the fronts made in with the sides. I taped a bunch of them together so they're nice and straight, and it provides more stability for doing it since you're doing them on end. So after routing those 3 times, taking 3 passes through here, each time getting a little deeper in my side panel, I've snuck up on the edge, and the edge is pretty close to the edge of this. A little bit of sanding and it'll be okay. That's how this drawer lock goes. So I've run into a problem with my deeper drawers. These are supposed to be 5.5 inches. And since I'm using real wood, you can see, and it's one piece, they're kind of cupped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and rip these on the table saw in half and then run them through my joiner, square up the edge, and then I'm going to glue them into a panel. This will allow me to keep a nice, straight, flat board as opposed to allowing it to cup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run these through my table saw and notch out a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to adjust my fence just a little bit and run them all through again to get the width of the plywood bottoms that I'm going to put in here. I've got the dados in the bottom for the drawer bottom. All the drawer lock cuts in the ends on both fronts and sides, so we're ready to start assembly. Got one of my drawers. Cut the drawer bottom. Width is pretty easy. For my drawer bottom, it is simply the length of this right here. I'm gonna go ahead and dry fit this drawer and see how it turns out. The drawer slides I'm using require a 1/2 inch drawer bottom be 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the drawer. The BLUM Tandem Plus with BLUM Motion hinges, that's what their specifications calls for. And they also require a notch cut out in the back side here of the drawer back, so that the slide actually goes out the back. I'll cut this out before I glue it up. However, prior to gluing it up, of course, to make life much easier, I'll sand this drawer down. My drawer slide call for 1.75 inch notch in here for the slide, because what I will do is I will just simply measure 1.75 inches over. Like that. Now it's over to the bandsaw. There's the bottom of the drawer, dry fitted, the notches for the slides. So I've got my drawer parts all together here. I've got my front and back, and I've got both sides here. I'm using a drawer lock bit, which I'll link to in the description. And with that bit, it provides a lot of surface area, so I don't have to worry about getting a lot of pressure and stuff like that. My parallel clamps and some auxiliary clamps will just do enough to get the joints in good contact so the glue will set up. It'll make a nice tight joint that'll last for a long time. First thing I want to do is put some glue here for my drawer bottom, and then put some glue in this joint here, and as well as some glue in each drawer front and back slot also. I also want to put a little glue in here, just enough to hold the drawer bottom stationary so it won't slip or slide or pull out. But with these type of drawer slides that I'm using, the drawer bottom actually rides on those, so it really helps the stability and keeps the drawers from popping out. Let's get started here. I'm gonna put my parallel clamps. Since my table is really flat, all I gotta do is squeeze these up a little bit, and it'll close that gap really well. Now the other thing I want to do is, these are my sides, so I want to make sure that these sides are the same distance all the way down through here, because that is what's really important. These go together, because otherwise your drawer slides aren't gonna, if they're cupped in, your drawer slides are gonna be straight. So that's pretty much the process for gluing up one of these drawers with this style drawer lock. These are 3.5 inch drawers with about 3-inch internal capacity. There's a lot of glue surface. Once it's done, any places where it's a little high, like right here, or any places like that, I'll just trim it down. That's pretty much how these drawers glue up.
I'm going to work on the drawer slides that go underneath these drawers.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.